Get out with your kids, you trashy wife. With those words, my mother-in-law throws my belongings at me. I look to David for help, but he just awkwardly avoids my gaze. How dare you deceive my precious son? I haven't cheated. This child is definitely David's. Shut up. You're probably cheating with that part-timer named Ryan, aren't you? At those words, I snap. As if being falsely accused of cheating wasn't irritating enough, now to be suspected of having an affair with Ryan too. I glare at my mother-in-law. What? Let's do a DNA test. Fine by me. At my words, my mother-in-law smirks confidently. Providing evidence of your own infidelity, what a foolish wife. Laughing, my mother-in-law. I swore to prove to her that I've never cheated. 2 weeks later, I checked the results of the test and sent them to my in-laws' house. A few hours after, they must have seen the results. In just a short time, my phone was flooded with dozens of messages from my mother-in-law. What have you done? My name is Luna. A 27-year-old housewife. Everyone, dinner is ready. Thanks as always. My parents have always been gentle, and it was rare to see them argue. My mother, while gentle, always made sure that my father and I could live peacefully. My father, who never forgot to respect and appreciate her for that. Perhaps because of how they raised me, I've rarely gotten angry myself. Sure, there are things I can't compromise on or that irritate me. But getting angry is exhausting, and it often seemed easier to just let things go. Luna, are you not pushing yourself too hard? You always give in to others. My mother would worry about me sometimes, but I believed I had my own convictions. I stood my ground when it mattered and lived at a pace that didn't overwhelm me. That's so like Luna, always doing things at your own pace. My friend Layla often said that. I didn't mind being seen as laid back. After all, I wasn't causing trouble for anyone, so there shouldn't be any problem. And there were people who loved me for being that way. I love how gentle you are, Luna. Those were the words of my husband, David. We met in college. At a matchmaking party a mutual acquaintance had organized. I hate conflict. I like people with a peaceful aura who don't get into fights, like you, Luna. At the matchmaking party, that's what David told me. He didn't really want to attend the mixer, but also didn't want to make his friends uncomfortable by refusing. That's why he ended up going. You really think of your friends, huh? I think that's wonderful. Thank you. Hey, Luna. If you're not seeing anyone right now, I'd like to go out with you. And with that confession from him, we started dating. He accepted that I had my own non-negotiables, and we were able to date without any major arguments or issues. Luna, will you marry me? Yes, I'd love to. After several years of dating, we got married. Thanks for becoming a part of this family. David's too good for me. My in-laws were also gentle people, with a smiling mother-in-law and a kind-looking father-in-law. At that time, I was truly glad to become a part of their family. What? Your father-in-law? Not long after David and I got married, my father-in-law was hospitalized. Apparently, he was involved in a car accident. Fortunately, there was no danger to his life, but he fractured his leg and had to be hospitalized for a while. Well, it's good that it wasn't serious. I'm sorry to make you worry. When David and I went to visit, my father-in-law apologized with a look of regret. Really, hearing about the accident almost took years off my life. My mother-in-law said, her face clouded with worry. Actually, my in-laws run a restaurant. Primarily, my mother-in-law manages the place, with my father-in-law and a few part-timers supporting her. My father-in-law is good at paperwork, while my mother-in-law says, if I look at letters and numbers for too long, my head starts to hurt, indicating her aversion to it. With my father-in-law hospitalized, the person handling all the background tasks was gone. Since some of these tasks involve money, they couldn't just be left to the part-timers. What are we going to do now? I found myself muttering. It's already hard enough that my father-in-law was suddenly hospitalized, putting a mental strain on them. In this condition, managing the restaurant seems impossible. Maybe they'll have to temporarily close. Thinking this, David and I headed home. "Luna, can we talk?" As we were taking a break at home, David approached me with a look of guilt. I could somewhat guess what he wanted to say. "Can you quit your job and help out at the family restaurant?" And he pleaded with me like that. David and I work at completely different companies, doing entirely different jobs. "Hey, David. You know how much I value my current job, right?" David avoids my gaze at my question. "I work at a company founded by Layla. I've been doing my dream job in design there, and I'm incredibly passionate about my work. I've talked about this to David multiple times, and he has always supported me." "I understand that. But I was hoping you could help out at the family business until Dad gets back." At his words, I hesitated. So, I asked David for some time to think it over, leaving the matter unresolved for the moment. Indeed, running the restaurant would be difficult under these circumstances. But honestly, if it's that concerning, David could help out. "Well, that's probably impossible." David, like his mother, isn't good at paperwork. Considering he doesn't do household chores either, it's likely he can't cook. David trying to help out at the store would just be a hindrance. "When you think about it, I'm the only option." With that thought, I decided to consult Layla. "I get it, your in-laws are having a tough time, and it's hard to say no given your position as their daughter-in-law." "That's right. Plus, I have a good relationship with my in-laws and want to help them. That's why I have a favor to ask you, Layla." Layla gladly agreed to my request. Thanks to that, I was able to decide to help out at my in-laws' store. "David, about the store, I'll help out." "Really? Thank you." David was thrilled with my decision, and when he told his mother, she was grateful too. If they're that grateful, I'll do my best. Just when I thought that, my mother-in-law's attitude changed dramatically once I started helping. "Now that you're here, you'll have to prove yourself useful." The plan was for my mother-in-law to cook, the part-timers to handle the front, and for me, who was unfamiliar with everything, to work behind the scenes. However, my mother-in-law started ordering me around. "Take orders quickly, if you have time to stand around, clean, tidy up and wash the dishes." It escalated from there, and eventually, she even had me doing simple cooking tasks. Without allowing for breaks, as soon as I tried to sit, she'd say, "You're a daughter-in-law, don't slack off." "Mrs. Luna, I'll take care of this, please take a break." That supportive voice belonged to Ryan, a college student and the part-time leader. He was observant and subtly supported me. But being unaccustomed as I was, I ended up exhausted from being overworked every day. "I'm going to collapse at this rate." "Just bear with it until Dad comes back. If we can get through this, we'll manage somehow," David would say with a troubled laugh whenever I told him about how I was being treated. David wouldn't even listen to my complaints. Maybe I made the wrong choice. At first, I thought David was a peace-loving and kind person. But in reality, he preferred to avoid trouble and wouldn't get involved in any. Because he's that kind of person, he wouldn't even try to mediate between my mother-in-law and me. Seeing this side of him, I sighed. "I need to rest soon." I was told to come in early again the next day by my mother-in-law. I gave up talking to David and decided to rest in my room. "Don't dawdle, get to work quickly." I was helping out at the store from morning, but feeling nauseous, I crouched down. "Ugh, I feel sick." "Mrs. Luna? You look pale, are you okay?" Ryan, noticing me, offered to take me to the hospital. "Thank you, Ryan. It's okay. My sister Layla always takes care of me, so it's the least I can do." Ryan smiled brightly at my words. Ryan is Layla's brother. I was surprised to find him working at my in-laws' store. We were both surprised when we saw each other there. "But if you hadn't been here, I wouldn't have made it to the hospital." When I tried to go to the hospital, my mother-in-law complained and tried to stop me. Ryan stood up to her, saying, "Are you planning to make a sick person work?" And thanks to him, I was able to get to the hospital. Congratulations! Eh? And upon examination, it was discovered that I was pregnant. It seems I was feeling unwell due to morning sickness. I immediately contacted David. What? Pregnant? Is that true? Pregnant? Luna's pregnant? Despite it being David's phone, I could somehow hear his parents' voices. Why can I hear your parents? When I asked, David explained the situation with a bit of trouble. Apparently, after my mother-in-law thought I had run away, she contacted David to complain, and they ended up going together to my father-in-law to vent. Well, until just a moment ago, my dad was actually lecturing her, saying she's working out of kindness. What are you complaining about? Really? My father-in-law had scolded my mother-in-law, saying, "Luna quit her job out of goodwill to help, and don't make her work when she's not feeling well." Hearing that made me feel somewhat relieved. My father-in-law was on my side. That alone was comforting. Luna, congratulations on your pregnancy. Then, the phone was handed to my father-in-law. My wife was wrong. I've told her to pay you a more generous salary as compensation. At those words, I was taken aback. That's right, I hadn't received any salary. Until now, I hadn't had the luxury to worry about such things and had completely forgotten about my salary. Luna? You haven't received your salary, have you? My silence must have given me away. My father-in-law asked, his voice containing anger. Well, I've been collecting it for her. David hurriedly answered to his father's question. Why are you collecting it? It's Luna's salary for her work. It should naturally go to her. My father-in-law's voice was low and cold. My mother-in-law responded. But Luna is a wife, so it should go to her husband, David. Enough. She's someone's precious daughter from another family. What are you thinking? My father-in-law scolded. I was told later that although my father-in-law is usually mild-mannered, he becomes terrifying when someone steps out of line in terms of common sense or manners. My mother-in-law, who usually acted sweetly and amiably, was afraid of him. However, with my father-in-law hospitalized, her usual restraint was gone, leading to her recent outburst. You've married into quite the family, haven't you? Ryan, who had been silently listening next to me, said with a wry smile. I returned the smile with a wry one of my own. I'm sorry for everything. Later, David came to apologize to me. He must have been scolded by his father to protect his wife. David promised that he would truly protect me from now on. All right. I'll forgive you this time, but in return, make sure you really protect me. I still have feelings for David, and I don't want to deprive my child of their father. So, I decided to wait and see how things would go. Sorry for the sudden notice. I'll be in your care from today. It's all right, you've had a tough time. Take it easy here. Not long after, I decided to go back to my parents' house for a prenatal visit. I came home early, wary of my mother-in-law's presence. Being pregnant isn't an illness, and you're not in your final month, so you can work as usual. My mother-in-law contacted me after I returned from the hospital. Apparently, she hadn't learned her lesson even after being scolded by my father-in-law. I told David about it, but all he said was, I understand. I'll talk to Mom, and nothing was done. Therefore, I used my morning sickness as an excuse to take refuge at my parents' house early. I also told my caring father-in-law about it. My family is to blame. Luna, your decision isn't wrong, he said, accepting my decision. My parents also warmly welcomed me, so I've been able to stay at my parents' house with peace of mind. Well, if Luna has decided, I won't oppose it. Just make sure to give birth to a healthy child. Even David was surprised by my early return but saw me off with those words. The only one who opposed until the end was my mother-in-law. To think you're going back to your parents' house for your birth so early. She complained about it. However, since she had been glared at by my father-in-law the other day, she couldn't stop me. The store will manage by splitting the work among the part-timers. That's right. You just focus on the baby, Ryan and Layla said, so I focused solely on my baby. This might have been the most peaceful and happiest time for me. Indeed, the morning sickness was tough, but my love for the growing baby in my belly only increased. And a few months later, I gave birth to my adorable son, Asher. Thank you for being born, Asher. I simply adore Asher. My parents are smitten with him, and Layla and Ryan were thrilled too. However, David seemed to be different. David, haven't seen you once. Are you that busy with work? Yeah, it seems like it. He didn't visit me while I was at my parents' house. Not even after the birth. Hey, David. Why aren't you showing your face? Thinking he might not be realizing his responsibilities as a father, I contacted David. I'm really sorry, work has been so busy, was his reply. I sighed at his response. What is he doing? I'll have to confront him when I get back home. With that determination, I returned home with Asher after some time. Welcome back, Luna. And I've missed you, Asher. David greeted us with a smile, lovingly looking at Asher. Seeing this, I felt a bit of remorse. He truly loved Asher. I've managed to free up some time from work, so I'll be more actively involved from now on. With those words, we were able to live peacefully for a while. However, Asher developed a sudden rash and we had to seek medical care. Is that really true? Yes, there's no mistake. Asher's blood type is A. During the visit, we also had Asher's blood type checked, which turned out to be A. Both David and I are type O. So, we were shocked, having assumed Asher would also be O. Of course, I haven't cheated. My only romantic experience has been with David. Did you go to the hospital today? How was it? The rash is getting better, but... What? Is there something else? David tilted his head, puzzled by my demeanor. I told him about Asher's blood type. He widened his eyes in surprise. Huh, I didn't know that could happen. That was all David said at the time. I was relieved because he didn't seem to suspect me. I heard a little bit. The next day, that's what my mother-in-law exclaimed as she barged in. Apparently, David, after hearing from me, immediately reported to his mother. She, having heard the story, suspected I had cheated and came storming in. Having a child with your lover. You shameless wife. I haven't cheated. David is the only one for me. I retorted while glaring at David, who had let her in and now looked uneasy behind his mother. David was fidgeting behind his mother. Amidst this, Asher, startled by his grandmother's shouting, began to cry. Quiet! Stop it, please! I instinctively picked up Asher to protect him from my mother-in-law's advance. She glared at me, gripping my belongings. Take your child and get out, you shameless wife! She screamed, throwing my things at me. I looked at David for help, but he just awkwardly looked away. How dare you deceive my precious son? I haven't cheated. Asher is definitely David's child. Shut up. You're probably cheating with that part-timer Ryan, aren't you? At those words, I snapped. Already irritated by the baseless accusations of infidelity, now to be suspected of something with Ryan too. I glared fiercely at my mother-in-law. What? Let's have a DNA test. Fine by me. At my words, my mother-in-law smirks confidently. Providing evidence of your own infidelity, what a foolish wife. She laughs. I vowed to prove to her that I had absolutely not cheated. After returning to my parents' house, I explained the situation to them. How could she berate you like that? We believe in you, Luna. My parents believed in me. And even offered to cover the costs of the DNA test. Oh. What's wrong? At that moment, I received a message from someone. This person had heard about the situation and offered their support. Having that person's support would be really reassuring. I'll definitely prove them wrong. My anger towards my mother-in-law became my driving force. I'll make her regret this. 2 weeks later, I checked the DNA test results and sent them to my in-laws' house. I wonder how they'll react. Muttering to myself, I went to Asher. A few hours later, after they must have seen the results, my phone was flooded with dozens of messages from my mother-in-law. What have you done? Picking up the phone call that came just then, I was met with her yelling. I just proved what you wanted. Don't joke with me, you worthless wife. And then she proceeded to hurl insults at me. This was getting nowhere. Deciding this, I left Asher with my parents and headed to confront my in-laws. I'm coming too. I can't forgive anyone who hurts my best friend. I'll go as well. Layla and Ryan, who had joined us along the way, were already informed and had agreed to come with me. As a result, the three of us headed to my in-laws' house. We're coming in. How dare you show your face here? Welcome, Luna. At the in-laws, there was my mother-in-law, fuming with anger, my father-in-law, welcoming me with a smile, and David, cowering in a corner. What are you angry about? I just proved my innocence. This is wrong. You must have tampered with it. My mother-in-law lamented, holding the DNA results in her hand. There, clearly written, was that Asher was indeed David's son. And you're still not satisfied after seeing that? How could this be possible? First of all, I've been slaving away for you. I didn't even have the time to cheat, you know? In reality, my days were spent being called out early by my mother-in-law and only getting back around the time David returned home. Even during work, I was constantly under my mother-in-law's watchful eye, leaving no room for infidelity. Even I, who was suspected of being the lover, was too busy with work and studies to meet outside the store. If anything, when I'm not at the store, I'm often with friends or family. You can check if you like. Ryan confidently stated. Faced with his assertion, my mother-in-law fell silent. Then, Ryan's gaze shifted to David, who was silently observing. Why are you staying quiet, David? First of all, it was you who asked Luna to work at the store, right? Yet, you ignore your wife being overworked and don't help her. Instead, you report to your mother to have her scold Luna in your place. That's pretty cowardly of you. David, faced with these cold words, averted his eyes, mumbling, "That's not true." This was the perfect opportunity to air my grievances. You don't lift a finger to help around the house even though I come home exhausted every day. While I'm preparing meals, he lazes around on the couch, never does any cleaning or laundry, yet complains about dirt and piled up laundry. When I retort with, "If you notice, why don't you do it?" he always escapes to the bedroom, saying, "I have to get up early tomorrow." Moreover, whenever I tried to talk to him about his mother, he would only offer lip service and never actually do anything. Just as Ryan said, you knew your mother would get angry about Asher, so you reported it, didn't you? You really are a coward. Because... David looked away, searching for an excuse. This man is not kind. He's just a man who wants to avoid trouble. There's no excuse. I agreed to help at the store because you asked me to. But between the salary issue and now this, I'm completely fed up with you. I'm really sorry. Finally, David apologized, looking flustered. I was just confused because Asher has a different blood type. About that blood type issue, there's someone else here to explain. David and my mother-in-law puzzledly responded with to my statement. Responding to them was, I'll explain about that. It was my father-in-law, who had been watching the situation unfold with a smile until now. His voice was frighteningly low. Sensing something, my mother-in-law turned pale. What's wrong, Mom? David was confused by his mother's reaction. Ignoring the two, my father-in-law pulled out a piece of paper. Is that a DNA test? Whose is it? Mine and yours. Eh? Indeed, that paper was between David and his father, stating that their parent-child relationship was denied. Seeing it, David was speechless. I'm not Dad's son. David was actually the child of my mother-in-law's lover, not my father-in-law. The lover was type A, and David was also type A. My mother-in-law's refusal to accept Asher's DNA results and her outrage were likely attempts to cover up her own infidelity. That's not true, right? David had assumed he was type O because both his parents were unaware of the truth. Well, I've always had my suspicions. Eh? He had noticed my mother-in-law's infidelity long ago and had doubted whether David was truly his child. But at that time, David was 10 years old, and I had already developed a bond with him from raising him. So, I thought there was no need to uncover the truth and didn't investigate further. However, after hearing about my situation, my father-in-law became angry and decided to reveal the truth. He contacted me, saying, I'll handle the investigation instead, so please include our tests as well. Investigation? About what you've been using Luna's salary for. At those words, David turned pale. Pushing the store and household chores onto Luna while you indulge in affairs. It seems like father and son are alike in this respect, my father-in-law remarked. Indeed, David had been having affairs and spending my salary on his lovers. It turned out his lovers didn't know he was married. In other words, he had deceived both me and his lovers. You'll pay for this, I told him, and David slumped down. You two will pay for your affairs. And we're getting a divorce. I'll also quit my job, Ryan added, following my father-in-law. Ryan then declared his decision to quit as well, as if adding to the statement. Why? My mother-in-law's face asked. If Luna and her husband are getting a divorce, the store won't survive. You only cook and don't do any of the administrative work like accounting. Even that cooking had lately been left to me and the staff. The regulars had noticed this, saying they came to support Luna, who works hard in her husband's place. Without me, the foot traffic had already started to dwindle. If neither Luna nor the father-in-law return to the store, the remaining regulars will leave too. The store, supported by the regulars and Luna, will surely collapse. Everyone senses this and is quitting one after another. No way, Ryan said, causing my mother-in-law to panic. That store was originally managed by my mother-in-law's family for generations. I can't let it end with me. Hey, we're not getting divorced, right? It'll be hard to find a job while taking care of a child, even with support from the family. David, realizing the situation, pleaded with me. Then, Layla stepped forward. Unfortunately for you, she's my capable subordinate. I'll take full responsibility for employing her. I had consulted with Layla before quitting, and she had arranged for me to return to the company anytime. So, re-employment was not an issue. I won't forgive anyone who hurts my best friend, Layla said with a smile to David. Following that, David and I successfully divorced. David kept pleading, I don't want to divorce, I want to be with Luna and Asher, but Layla's husband, a lawyer, played a crucial role. I told him to squeeze everything out of your husband. True to Layla's word, David paid a substantial amount in alimony and child support, which I received in a lump sum, allowing me to live comfortably for a while. My father-in-law also opted for a divorce without demanding alimony, in exchange for no division of assets. Are you sure you're okay with not demanding alimony? Yes, it's fine. I have enough savings, and either way, she's finished. Originally, my in-laws ran the same store but kept their finances strictly separate. Thanks to this, my father-in-law had been able to save money, while my mother-in-law had squandered hers, leaving her with no savings. All that remained for her was the store. That store will collapse soon. Once that happens, she'll have no one but David to rely on, my father-in-law said. And that became a reality. Sometime later, while having tea with Layla, the topic came up. What happened to David and the others? Oh, I got a message from them. I went on to tell about what happened next. The store could no longer manage without us, leading to its quick demise. The remaining regulars left. And soon after, the store was buried in debt. Eventually, my mother-in-law had to sell the store and the land to pay off her debts and, with nothing left, ran to David. But David seems to be having a hard time too. Turns out, one of David's mistresses was a newcomer at a company his company dealt with. The newcomer, feeling deceived, cried and complained to everyone, quickly spreading the story. The story reached David's company, and he was indirectly asked to resign. With the money from selling their house, David had to pay off the debt he incurred to cover the alimony and child support and moved to a cheap apartment. He was living day to day on part-time jobs when his mother showed up, making life even harder for him. And he reached out to you for help? After betraying you first, as if you would help him. Exactly. I blocked him immediately. He had sent a long message detailing his situation, but I didn't respond and blocked him instead. Thankfully, I've been living peacefully since. Meanwhile, I've been raising Asher smoothly with my parents' help. With my stay-at-home mom actively taking care of him, I can raise my child with peace of mind. It's good to see you happy. Let's talk about the future then. We were having tea today to discuss future plans. With Asher still requiring a lot of care, I plan to start working from home once he grows a bit more. I'm so glad you're back, Luna. Your designs are popular, and there's something special about them that only you can create. Layla complimented me. Feeling appreciated like this motivated me to work hard once I return. A few years later, around the time I began to return to work. Hello. How are Asher and you today? Hello. He's been energetic since the morning. Ryan stopped by the workplace. He's always been considerate and fond of Asher. Now a university graduate, Ryan works diligently in sales at the same company as Layla and me. Luna, I've liked you for a long time. Will you go out with me? Ryan proposed, leaving me speechless. Facing my stunned silence, he looked at me earnestly. I'll make sure both you and Asher are happy. Ryan said that to me. However, I'm 5 years older than him. Because of that, I couldn't immediately respond and decided to put off answering. Then, soon after that. Luna. Eh? David? David appeared before me. Surprised by the sudden encounter, I couldn't flee immediately, and David approached me with a smile. I've been looking for you. Hey, let's get back together. I can't stand it anymore. I refuse. Who would get back with you? I immediately rejected David's words. You too? You're mocking me too. Then, suddenly angry, David raised his fist towards me. That's when it happened. What are you doing? Ryan intervened, pulling me close and glaring at David. Enough already. Luna doesn't need you anymore. Shut up. What do you know about Luna? Hey, Luna, you still need me, right? No, I don't need you. I already have him. At my words, David looked hurt. What's that supposed to mean? In the end, you betrayed me and had an affair with him. Ryan and I both showed a look of disbelief at his words. We had said at the time that neither of us had the time to engage in affairs. Unlike you, I haven't cheated. He and I aren't even officially dating yet. Lies. It's not a lie. Indeed, he confessed to me recently, but I haven't given him an answer yet. Though, my feelings are pretty much decided. Thinking this, I held Ryan's hand that was embracing me. Then, Ryan widened his eyes and then smiled happily. You have no place here anymore. Or would you prefer I call the police? At my words, David left, cursing. Apparently, he didn't want the police involved. About what you said just now. I'll be happy with you and Asher, right? At my words, Ryan nodded with a smile. And that's when we started dating. Later, I asked Layla's husband to issue a restraining order against David. It seems he had finally snapped at his mother for squandering his earnings and pressuring their lives and kicked her out. Feeling lonely afterward, he sought us out. The ousted mother wandered without a destination and eventually went missing. It doesn't matter anymore. Because now, I am happy. Luna, it's about time. Yes, I'm coming. Today is Asher's entrance ceremony. Asher adores Ryan as his dad. Ryan is fully committed to responding to such Asher. To anyone looking, they were a happy family. I'm truly glad to have become a family with the two of them. With that thought, I headed towards them with a smile.